I'm anxious to hear this. So you had an encounter a couple days ago.
Yep.
What happened?
Well, things are kind of getting back to normal, I guess, at least work-wise. So I jumped up to LA, kind of a road warrior. So LA is kind of a second home for me. And went up there, was cruising around, dropping into accounts, talking to people and so forth. It's weird kind of adjusting to back to normal life. Everything's kind of boarded up and there's obviously protests going on. And I'm playing some protest music in the car. We talked about it last week, like, Signs of the Times with Rage Against the Machine. And I spun like all three of their albums. It's like crazy. And speaking of the clairvoyance, had to pee really bad. So I'm driving around all day and crushing our drinks and with people and so forth.
The non-alcoholic ones, right?
Non-alcoholic, yeah. Maybe cannabis infused, but
you're good.
So I like got to a point where I was like, all right, I gotta pee bad. And I just put in my phone, like Starbucks, something where I can run in, run out really quick. And it was actually closer to go to this national food store. For privacy reasons, I maybe won't drop the name of the grocery store. But I ran in there, felt like I had to buy something to pee out of respect, and jumped in line. And the guy right in front of me, we're both standing there ready to just bounce out of there. And I looked at his tattoo on his arm.
Nerdery.
Because yeah, it's nerd. It is nerdery because it's a different kind of nerdery because I'm getting some ink done relatively soon.
Well, and you guys are both masked, right?
Yeah. So we're just sitting there. There's only so much stuff you can look at. I'm looking at this guy's tattoo. I'm like, nice. I like that. I like that. Oh, wait, I recognize that tattoo. Wait a second. I look up and verified he actually turned back and he probably saw that I was staring at his arm or whatever. I'm like, oh shit, that's Brad Wilk from Rage Against the Machine that I was just playing in the car on the way here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, super ironic. And I was kind of, I don't really get starstruck anymore, I guess you'd say. And that's not to sound like cocky or anything. I think it's just like getting older, really, and realizing that we're all just working professionals. And so he gets in line, I get in line. The way the grocery store was set up for checkout is you're actually next to each other, parallel. So I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is nuts. So he gets his change literally at the same second that I do. So we're both walking out. I'm like, hey, Brad, huge fan, man. He's like, oh, thanks. I'm like, I actually have a podcast called Podioslave named after your second band, Audioslave. He's like, oh, that's rad.
Shameless plug, baby.
It was like perfect. You know what I mean? We're just rolling out just like almost just as neighbors. And I'm like, hey, man, you mind if I get a quick pic? I never do this anymore. I used to do it a lot, as Tone can attest to.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He was like, yeah, super gracious, took a quick photo. And I was like, all right, man, have a good one. Me too. And it was just quick and sweet, but it was like, damn, man, like, that's like me and Tone and Twan were talking about, it's like a modern day, like John Bonham, and just running into him. That's pretty cool. And the fact that I was listening to this music on the way to the shop is just like bizarre, but not really bizarre because it happens a lot on this podcast.
And the fact that you didn't go into the Starbucks, you went into the grocery store.
Yeah. Starbucks was the first thing on the map. And this thing happened to just show up down the street. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll just run in here. It's actually an account we're trying to get into as well. Anyway, kind of a luxurious LA boutique natural food store. So, yeah, it was cool. Super nice guy. And it's always cool when you meet your heroes and they're super gracious and nice because he was as chill as could be. So
and you booked him for a couple weeks, right? On the podcast?
We don't talk about who we got booked. We got people lined up. But yeah, hopefully someone from Rage, if Brad wants to come on, man, if you're listening, we are all ears.
Well, he's going to get tagged in it, so he'll at least maybe see it on Instagram.
That's true.
So what do you think he was more surprised on? The fact that you noticed him when he had a mask on, or two, there's a Podioslave, there's a podcast named Podioslave out there?
That's a good question. He seemed pretty surprised that I recognized him because we're both wearing masks and I'm wearing a hat. He wasn't wearing a hat, but it's like all you can see is his eyes. So if it wasn't for the tattoo, I probably would have noticed. If I wasn't like gearing up to get tattoo or ink done, I wouldn't even be kind of tuned into that at all, I don't think. So we were talking about it through a group text here. I feel like I probably am in line with other people all the time that I just don't recognize. And this was just a kind of weird, perfect timing. And I was like, oh shit, that's Brad Wilk. That's awesome.
Two things. You sent us the picture and Twan and I are both like, wait a second. Is that because he's got a mask? You guys both wear a mask. Obviously we recognize you. And then I'm just looking at him and I'm like, that looks like Brad Wilk. And then you were like, yeah, this is just, Rage vibes. We're like, holy shit. Like that's just, it was amazing. Definitely
like rage vibes. You're like, no, legit rage vibes. That's fucking Brad Wilk.
And the second thing, you're right, Nate. You notice, like you said, you were looking to get some ink, and you're like paying attention to other people's tattoos, right? I mean, that's only natural. I know I do that a lot with my job. And I remember when I, in high school, I worked at a running shoe store, and so like forever I would watch people walk and check their shoes out. So if it's top of mind like that, it just happens to be something you see, and then to recognize the tattoo and be in a mask and just be like, holy shit, that's Brad Wilk. That's pretty badass.
So I showed that photo to my wife, and I kind of told her the backstory that you said through text, Nate. And I was like, yeah, that's Brad Wilk on the left. And she goes, who's that on the right? So it just shows you, like, it's tough to tell who's who, or who, to identify anyone unless you showed up with them. It's really tough unless you see him all the time. She didn't even recognize that was you on the right. Yeah.
If it wasn't Rage and it was like the drummer from even another band that I'm a huge fan of. I mean, Rage, I've been a fan of them since like 5th or 6th grade. So it's been a longer legacy than a lot of bands. So I'd recognize that guy and then maybe that tattoo, maybe longer, like longevity wise. But yeah, no, the mask thing is really interesting because you've never looked into people's eyes so deeply until this present time, So now it's like, holy crap, like you just see like half their face. It's like everyone's a bandit now. And so you're getting all emotion and every sensory from just eyes, no longer facial expression. At least this is kind of my first experience out in a major market, LA, working. And I was like, damn, this is weird. Oh shit, Brad Wilk.
Yeah. And they're probably pretty excited that they can be out a little bit more out in public. If you're not, obviously if it's LeBron, it's a different story, but somebody who's not just this international superstar, they can get away with a little bit more with their mask on. But you're right. Just like looking at people, you're right. You're looking at people in the face. You're reading, trying to read emotion from people. You don't get the smile. Maybe you do, but not really. Like, are they smiling or are they frowning? I can't even really tell. It's weird that piece has been, an adjustment for all of us to try to figure out, how do we read people right now?
Yeah.
And it does humanize him. Like, again, who knows? Maybe he got his groceries delivered before this. Who knows? But the fact that he's out there, to me, it humanized. In any big city, you end up seeing people. But being on the East Coast, you just don't get that. So it's like it's so cool when it happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's happened. Well, it's happened without the masks, obviously. In LA, like I'd say every third visit I see someone, at least. And I just don't even think twice about it. Like downtown LA, I'll walk by a cafe. I saw Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day once. A lot of shows. I mean, shows I almost always see people in the crowd that are also in bands, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, so I gotta approach more people and say get them on the podcast because lately I've just kind of been super casual about it. 10 years ago, 25-year-old me would have had a different,
You'd have had like that. 9 things in your pocket and 2 Sharpies and hey, sign this, totally. Sign my hat, sign my tits. Like, let's go.
I have much inventory because of those hardworking days. That's a lot of work.
You have a lot of stuff, man. I've seen, a fraction of it at your camp in Maine. So.
Yeah, it was fun, but it's a lot of work.
But yeah, right time, right place. Our energy probably had something to do with it. It was meant to be. It was meant to be.